Hello, everyone out there. Welcome, welcome. And again, this is your melanated queen, owner and founder of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. And today's topic, I would like to talk about being under spiritual warfare and spiritual attack. Initially, I had made a prior video, 16 minutes long, only to find out that the sound was not working. But I felt so strongly about this topic. And if you know anything about me, you would know that I'm extremely determined when I want something done. So even though I am hungry and on my way to get something to eat, I felt like this was a message that I needed to get out. Being under spiritual attack is not easy, and occasionally you may find me glance down at my notepad because there were some key points that I'd like to talk about as it concerns this very topic. It's a very prevalent topic, and it's something that needs to be discussed and addressed in any community. It doesn't matter, but especially with melanated beings, because I think we undergo spiritual attacks far more than what we know or what we understand or what we imagine. To know that you are experiencing spiritual attack is quite easy. A lot of people have already experienced this. I have dealt with this many times in my tenure here on this earth, in this physical realm. And it is nothing that is easy or nothing to be taken lightly and nothing to mitigate. A lot of times when you try to speak to certain people about it, they don't understand because they've never been through it. Trust and believe, if you live long enough on this planet, you will undergo spiritual warfare, and it is not pretty. It is nothing nice. And luckily, I am a warrior, and this was not something that I chose. Is by design. When you have no choice, you do what you have to do in life. So let me go ahead and start breaking this down. To know when you're under spiritual attack, one thing you may notice when this situation arises, friends and family will become far few and non-existent. You will have people in your life, in your most immediate family, some of your most closest friends, people that you have known for decades, that will betray you in some of the most worst ways possible that you could never or could have ever imagined. They will do some very underhanded things, and you'll start to see that it's like a domino effect sometimes in your life, where you think you can depend on people and you can't. People will turn their backs on you. They'll make fun of you. They'll talk about you. They'll talk about you behind your back, but you'll find these things out eventually. And a lot of times if you just pay attention to people's actions and really hone in on their vibes, you will get a consensus of exactly how they feel about you and what you mean to them in life. I've been there on so many different levels, so many different times. Another thing that you will find is that these people will disappear on you that claim that they really care about you, or that they love you, or that they value you, or that they even say they like you. A lot of times people that claim that you're all of this and that to them are the main ones who will disappoint you in the worst ways. So just be careful and just be real guarded, and don't be surprised when it happens. I mean, it will come as a shock, but you can get through it. One thing I wanted to point out about being under spiritual warfare and attack, when you meet people, or even if you don't meet people, if you have people around you that you converse with on a regular basis, whether it's looking at pictures, or if it's on video, or if it's on FaceTime, or if it's in person. I particularly like to do this in person, stare into that person's eyes, because you get a clear understanding sometimes of who that individual is. A lot of times people's eyes truly are the windows to their soul, and you can actually see when a person is sad, Michael Jackson had sad eyes a lot throughout his life, and even though he had a lot of people around him, that did not necessarily mean he was happy. And as we found out, that seemed to be his reality, unfortunately. Also, you can look at a person's eyes and see their temperament. Some people present the best foot forward, so you could see that, but just know that there's always something underlying in a person's spirit and their soul, and you can look through their eyes and see that. A lot of times you can see their temperament. You can see that person that pretends to be the most nicest person will be the worst thunderstorm ever. And maybe they haven't displayed it to you yet, but eventually they will. So just watch out for people and look at their eyes. Know that when you go under spiritual attack, a lot of times you will be fighting alone. Make no mistake about that. You think that you can speak to people and they'll understand your journey. They will not. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I am being realistic and logical. A lot of times people don't want to hear about your burdens. They don't want to hear about your problems. They only want to be around you if everything is going well and if you can benefit them in some way. So don't be surprised when people start turning their backs and distancing themselves when you go through some of your worst, most difficult, trying times in life. Trust me, I have been there on many different levels, many different times, on many different occasions through my walk of life. So just be leery of those types of people. Also, I wanted to point out how we can help ourselves when we're under spiritual attack. Now, spiritual attack can be things from your job. It can be things dealing with your family, things dealing in relationships, friendships, things in your finances, things in your neighborhood. I have experienced all of them. Okay, so I know. But luckily for me, I have ancestors, I have spiritual guides, I am protected. And you know, it is so unfortunate that people wish your downfall, but this happens a lot out of jealousy. So take, for instance, a person, if you look a certain way. I've experienced so much jealousy just off of looks alone, because of my hair, because it's real, because just whatever. People don't like you because they don't want to excuse me, they don't want to see you succeed. If you have a new car, it's really sad. I didn't know people thought like this until we moved back to the United States, but I never experienced this magnitude of jealousy when I was in Germany. And those were where the Nazis, quote unquote, dwell, okay, and reside. But your own people will be some of the most detrimental people in your life. And I'm going to do a video about our melanated people attacking one another, because I had spoken to someone just this past week, a female who had been attacked by guys. Okay, she was alone in her car and they're breaking beer bottles over her glass and over her windshield. Like, we got to do better as a people. That type of behavior is embarrassing, because you think you're a woman, but you're not. You're a man. Regardless of your sexual preference, you do not attack a female that's by herself alone in a car. And as a man, there's no respect for that. And I'm going to touch on that in another video. But so she's going through her spiritual warfare, because what she shared with me is that she's tired. People keep attacking her car. I know exactly what she feels, because I've experienced that too. And you know, I just gave her some words of encouragement, advice, and I told her, I said, you know what, you have a lot more than what they have. Yeah, they might be driving a Benz, a new Benz. She didn't have like one of those expensive luxury vehicles, but I can tell that she's been through some things. And a lot of times the people that go through the worst have a lot going on for them. Let's just put it that way. And people don't like to see that. So they will attack you. Trust and believe. If you are succeeding, you are under attack. And it unfortunately, it never stops. It's a cycle. But like I said, let me give you just some advice, what I would say, and I was touching on this earlier. Spiritual ancestors are very real, regardless if people believe in the dead or not. We have been indoctrinated with Christianity, and unfortunately I myself suffered the same consequences from being in a Baptist church. I didn't grow up in the church, but the belief system was placed upon me at a young age. And although we hear pray to God, pray to Jesus, pray, 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 I remember doing those things, and I remember those things were not getting better in my life. They got worse, and I was frustrated, and I will even say I got mad and upset at God one time. I remember this. I remember the conversation that I had in the car. I was going off. I was mad. But you know, people would say, don't question God, this and that. I would say that you cannot contain God in one simple phrase or one simple book on a page. God is so much more than what we could ever imagine. And that term that we use, God, that is a generic term. That's like saying you have a dog, but you don't call the dog by its name. Rover is his name. Spot is his name. But you say, come here, dog. You have a child. You don't call her name. You don't say, come here, Jasmine, or come here, Talia. You say, come here, child. Come here, daughter. Same thing with God. What is God's name? No one knows. They say Allah. They say all these different things. But just know that the term God cannot be defined by man on any level. It's too big for us to even fathom. So I do believe that we have a creator. I do believe that we have multiple creators. Those are just my beliefs. I am not asking anyone to conform to what I believe. I do believe that we are also made in the image of our creators, in a sense that we do have some of the same characteristics as far as our emotions. This is what makes us human. Now, we are spiritual beings in a 3D body. I understand that, but I also understand that a lot of things manifest on the spiritual realm before they manifest in our 3D realm. And it is very hard for us to grasp that theory when things in our 3D realm are not going our way and we're under the spiritual attack. Our lives are literally falling apart in front of our very own eyes. And you will have people on the sidelines praying and gloating for your downfall. Trust and know that I have been through this. I have people in my family have done this to me. I know how it feels to have friends that you thought were your friends talk about you behind your back and thought they would never, that you would never find out. Only to see that you still rise and you're still standing and you are still elevating. People don't like that. So when I say call on your spiritual ancestors, the reason I say that is because those are your spiritual guides. Those are the people that you knew before they transitioned, and those hopefully were the people that loved you before they left this spiritual realm or this physical realm. So there's nothing wrong with calling them by their names. There's nothing wrong with setting up an altar to them. There's nothing wrong for looking at their pictures and speaking to them. Acknowledge their birthdays. Acknowledge them. You know, I have a great aunt. Her favorite color was red, and I always write her birthday on the calendar, and I'll look at the calendar when her birthday comes and I'll tell her happy birthday. Imagine how that feels to die and be ignored. It's the same thing as being here physically and you be ignored by people that claim they love you. And we know how that is. A lot of times people say they love you, and you know, but just imagine, just because you've transitioned, people forget you're no longer there physically, but you're still there spiritually, and you still want to help your loved ones, but they no longer think about you. They no longer talk to you. They pretend like you don't exist, because we have not been trained and we have not been educated on how to communicate with our ancestors. So that is another thing. Call on your ancestors in your times of need, because they are definitely with you, and they definitely will fight some wars and battles with you and for you and protect you. I know this to be a fact and to be true in my different many occasions. Also, I would say if you don't, you may want to actually, what's the word I'm looking for? I would say experiment with candle magic, because there are different things that you can do with candles. You can manifest with candles. And I would also like to say that you could also, I'm looking at my notes here. I mentioned oils before in a prior video. Oils, really what they do is they help with the the physicalities of your body, just relaxation and things of that nature. When you're under spiritual attack, it will affect you physically. I know for me, I've always been small, I've always been petite, but I will lose weight. I can't afford to lose weight. So what I did was I started going to the gym. The gym, a lot of people don't understand, it helps put on weight because you gain muscle mass. Muscle mass weighs more than fat. Okay, and it's healthier. And so I will tone easily, but just lifting weights helps your mental clarity, and it helps you gain just a better grasp on what's going on in your physical realm and your physical world. Another thing I would say to do if you're under spiritual attack is to work on your breathing. This is something that I struggle with. It's still a challenge. My sister actually had to help me because I did not believe in it. I thought it was nonsense when it was introduced to me years ago. But one day I was so upset, and I was talking to her on the phone, and luckily she calmed me down. I breathed in with her. I breathed out with her. And she helped me through that breathing exercise, and I literally calmed down right there on the phone, because a lot of times when we're upset, our blood is constricted, our blood vessels aren't pumping the blood like it should, our oxygen level is just diminished because we're so upset, so infuriated that we're focused on our anger, and that is not doing anything for our bodies. If anything, it just attacks us and makes things worse. So just try to focus on your breathing if you're under spiritual attack. I know that also goes in line with meditation. Now, that's something that I struggle with. I'm not the type of person that really can keep my brain quiet, although I like to be in quiet spaces because I am an empath, and so a lot of energies affect me. And so with this spiritual shift that's been going on within the last few months, I have felt a lot of things inside of me, and a lot of people aren't privy to the fact that we are very much aligned with the moon, the universe, the planets, and all of those elements. They do affect our emotions, and I can feel shifts in the universe and the energy around us, and I can tell when something is about to happen. Also, I would say pay attention to your dreams. Dreams are another way that the universe speaks to us. And sometimes in your dreams, you'll dream about a person. Pay attention to what that dream is about, because it's like a forewarning, and it's telling you something's about to happen. I've had dreams about certain things. I would also say pay attention to the animals and the insects, different living things that come around you. When your energy is aligned, you will attract certain things around you. Like, for instance, I have experienced butterflies coming around me. I've experienced cats coming around me. Where I used to live, animals used to come to my yard all the time. I had toads coming around me in the evening time, frogs, lizards, and I did look up the symbolization of some of these things. Frogs represent fertility, transformation, and lizards and frogs, sometimes it's like taking a leap of faith, and just different things. So just pay attention to what these things mean and why they're coming around you. I saw a baby snake one time, and I'm not going to go into why I saw these snakes, but just know that they were attached to certain individuals, and that's what I figured that meaning was, and pretty much it was accurate. So there are reasons that you will see things come around you. Just be mindful of who you are around, or who was just in your physical space when you see these animals. I remember one time I was walking down the sidewalk, and I saw a dog. And the guy that was walking the dog had him on a leash, and I was on the phone. So I got all the way over to my side, hoping that this dog would not interfere with me, because I don't really care for mid-sized dogs because I'm not that big. So I walked past the dog. The next thing I know, I feel something behind me, on my waist behind me. The dog is following me with both of his paws wrapped around my waist. And I'm like, what is this? You know, and it's just, sometimes it depends on your energy. Not that he was attacking me. I think he just got excited, and he literally turned around, did a U-turn, and followed me down the sidewalk. So when you're spiritually in tune and spiritually aligned and your energy is right, you will attract certain things to you for certain reasons. Another thing I would say is, oh yes, the diet is extremely important. I know it sounds cliche. We hear about it a lot. Your diet is so important because the more you eat of the earth, the more you are basically in tune with the universe. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries. That's all we need, and herbs. Everything that we need has been provided by our Creator. There is no need for us to eat dead, rotten meat or dead carcasses. That is not really doing anything for us internally. So the more you are clean on the inside, the more spiritually attuned you are, the more aligned you are with the universe, and the more the universe is going to look out for you. And you can actually pick up on signs and spiritual spiritual guides and spirituality. And I've also been seeing the numbers that they classify them as angel numbers. I see them multiple times throughout the day, and without even trying, I've been trying to ignore them. But 222, the garage door opener, in the car, with the gas mileage, on the clock, on the phone, just videos, 555, 222, 1111, 444, 333, 111. You know, it doesn't stop. And sometimes you actually need to ask the universe questions. I remember I was actually traveling out of town, driving out of state, and I asked the universe a question. And the universe, I asked my question. I said, let me see a number that I don't normally see. Let me see 777, because you're not going to see that on a clock. Well, I was listening to a podcast on YouTube, and the guy in the podcast happened to say a phone number. Don't you know, he repeated 3 times the number 777 in that phone number. That was basically my answer from the universe that I had asked. And then there were some other signs, and then, you know, other things that came about that basically answered my question. So pay attention to the signs, everybody. They're out there. If you're under spiritual attack, know that you can also receive help from spiritual healers. But make sure you do your work on the spiritual healer, because a lot of people will take advantage if they feel that you are naive. They can help guide you, and they can help you if you have been attacked on a different level, because some people, because of their jealousy and their antagonizing ways, will go out of their way to do things to you that you never would have imagined on a whole different level. And people will do these things using your personal items. They'll do it using your hair. So I try to be very careful about my hair, even though it sheds a lot. Anybody that's ever around me, I'm like a cat. I can't help it. I shed. But people will do things with your pictures, your name, your date of birth. It's so easy. So just always stay protected. Wear your stones, have your crystals, and whatever amulets that you have. Utilize those things to your best interest to serve you. And that's all I wanted to say about being under spiritual attack and spiritual warfare. And just know that it's real, and just know that you are not alone. There are a lot of people going through it. A lot of people smoke weed because they don't know how to handle certain things. A lot of people do other drugs, other substances. A lot of people drink. They don't know how to handle these things. But there are ways that you can actually cope with being under spiritual attack. It's not an easy journey, trust me, I know. But if it's anybody out there, even if it's one person that needed some guidance or needed some help with this, I hope this video has helped you. Because believe and trust me when I tell you, everything that I tell you in the videos, it's nothing that I'm making up. These are things that I am spiritually walking through, have walked through, or going through. So that's all I really wanted to say. I am not going to drag this out any longer. If you'd like to comment, please feel free to do so. Make sure we're very positive, because I don't like responding to negativity. I've had enough of that in my life. And oh yes, definitely feel free to share and subscribe. And as the spirit hits me, I will be sharing more videos. I don't like to force anything, and that's the way that I operate with anything. So with all that being said, Brown Girls Are Beautiful thanks you. And again, I am your melanated queen, aka Lil Foxy. You all stay blessed out there, and thank you so much for listening.